Hey, hello, happy football Saturday. I'm Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Team Riser Fall to talk about the Vegas Raiders heading to Cleveland to take on the Browns. This one has just been ripped apart through enhanced COVID protocol, but hang here and let's see what we can do about digging in and getting to the bottom of it. Stick around, I'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. Thanks for being here. Once again, I'm Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Team Riser Fall to talk about the Vegas Raiders heading to Cleveland to take on the Browns. And as you can see, I have my Christmas tree out. I'm feeling festive, more festive than normal, but I need to take a moment here. The COVID that's running rampant right now in football and NHL, it's a serious situation. I don't want to act like I'm bringing light to it, right? Baker Mayfield is going to be inactive. His backup, Case Keenum, is now inactive or on the COVID IR here. So when I talk about, fantasy football and DFS, it's all fun and games, right? It literally is entertainment. A little bit of real money at stake, but it's entertainment. I wish nothing but the best for these guys, their players, their families, the coaching staff, even the fans. I'm not in any way trying to make light of it in favor of my DFS content. I would never do that. That's rude, and it's just not who I am. So when I say let's go through this game and let's dig through some gems that we can find because half the team is on COVID IR, I really mean what I say here. I wish all those guys the best, their friends, their family, everybody from top to bottom, but the show must go on. The NFL is still letting this game go on, and on Saturday, I believe it's the December 18th, this game is going to kick off at around 4:30 p.m. Eastern, so we have to make do. And if you're like me, you want to play anything and everything DFS. Now look, you can do the 2-game slate, or you can break it down game by game, and that's why I'm here to talk about the Vegas Raiders at the Cleveland Browns here. Before we get into the game in terms of the players and their salary, maybe sprinkle in a little bit of ownership percentages, make sure you go to Team Riser Fall. As I said, the Christmas tree is out. Use the promo code NBA. You're going to get 33% off your first month of premium services here at Team Riser Fall. And what better gift to yourself than this one? Or if you're going to want to give it to your wife, your husband, your boyfriend, girlfriend, heck, your mom or dad, it doesn't matter. Just make sure you use promo code NBA, and when you get there, tell them Beastie sent you. Say, hey, Santa Mitch, thanks for the promo code here. It's running throughout the duration of the month, and I have a feeling there's going to be something going on in the new year. You're always going to be a New Year's sale. Can you believe it? 2022 is less than 2-3 weeks away here. So enough with the housekeeping stuff. Let's talk about this game here. Now, this is going to be strange, right? As I said, all week we've been hearing about this game. Every hour or so, there's updates, and the Cleveland Browns have just been, hit hard by this thing. And I remember last night, if this matters to you, I was watching the Detroit Red Wings game. As you can see, I got the jersey back there, and they're playing the Carolina Panthers. And this stood out to me. You might say, well, this is a football video. What do we care about hockey here? Well, Carolina's been hit hard by it too, so much so they had to leave their captain and 2 other skaters in Vancouver. And then they flew to Minnesota. They had to leave players in Minnesota because they all popped positive after the game has been played or before the game. So they had to send a plane to Vancouver, to Seattle, to Minnesota to literally pick up half their team at every city here. This thing is getting wild. We might be going back to how it was, a year and a half ago. Lockdown, masks. Look, this isn't a political show. I'm not here to talk vax or anti-vax. Never would do that. I want you guys and girls to come here and have fun, let loose, and let's talk about DFS. So all that stuff aside, Derek Carr, Vegas is at Cleveland here, and I know football and hockey, DFS, it gives us a sense of normalcy, right? We're at home, we're safe, you can rest with the tree, put a fire on. In DFS, to me, makes me feel comfortable, makes me feel at home, and makes me feel safe. Maybe that's I'm a weirdo, but I would imagine some of you feel the same way. So Derek Carr is at Cleveland. Cleveland 16th overall in terms of DVP against opposing quarterbacks. Derek Carr, $15,000 on FanDuel. FanDuel, $10,200 on DraftKings, and if you want Carr in the captain spot, it's going to cost the size of a luxury car. It's $15,300. I have Carr 25, maybe 26 completions in this one, 250 passing yards. I think that's his floor here. Realistically, I think he gets up over 270, 275, somewhere around there. Couple carries, 10 yards, and Derek Carr will throw a couple touchdown passes here, 2 of them. And as we get through the video, as you know, I'll get to who I think is going to receive those touchdowns here. Now, Baker Mayfield is out, going to be inactive. It was Case Keenum's time here. We know what he did at Minnesota, and he's a capable backup and or starter, depending on which way you look at it. Case Keenum is now out here. So the Cleveland Browns are going to run out Nick Mullins. If you remember him from San Francisco, I think he was a local kid, drafted by them or from around the area here. But Nick Mullins at home against the Vegas Raiders, who are 19th overall against opposing quarterbacks here. Mullins only $5,000 on FanDuel, DraftKings $6,000, and in the captain spot $9,000 here. Now look, let me give you what I have for his projections, and then I have a little spiel, something I want to say about Nick Mullins here. About 20 completions, I think that's generous here. 20 completions, 250 yards, 1 or 2 carries for another 5 yards here. Now look, I have my phone here. I want to bring up I think it was a tweet or something like that. I took a screenshot of it. But before I get to that, I just want you to know Nick Mullins might be the cheapest player ever in the history of DFS. That's a lock for 250 passing yards here. So why wouldn't you kind of want to roll with that here? And I can't find it. I don't want to bog down the video here. But I believe, if I remember correctly, Nick Mullins is the only quarterback aside from Patrick Mahomes in NFL history to throw for 2,000 or 3,000 yards in his first 15 games as a starter. Granted, he's not a starter anymore, except for today. So I think Nick Mullins is a very cheap resource of yardage and accumulating points here. So Nick Mullins, very much highlighted in my notes, which obviously I'll share. Let's talk about the running backs. We'll pick up the pace. I droned on for like 6 minutes here. Josh Jacobs, Vegas at Cleveland. Cleveland's 14th overall against opposing running backs here. Jacobs 12.5 on FanDuel, $9,000 on DraftKings, 13.5 in the captain spot on DraftKings. Josh Jacobs, 17, 18 carries. I think that's very realistic. That might be his floor on Saturday. 70, 75 yards in this one, 4 receptions, 30 yards, and Josh Jacobs will find the end zone more than likely on the ground in this one. Do I bother with Jalen Richard or Peyton Barber? Sure, because this game is so out of whack with the people in and out and everything. Of the two, Peyton Barber or Jalen Richard, I would prefer Jalen Richard. And look, he's $6,000 on FanDuel, only $1,000 on DraftKings, captain spot $1,500. But to me, it's not about the carries with Jalen Richard. I have him for like 2 or 3 carries, but I have him for. You're looking at, I have him written so small here. I have Jalen Richards for a healthy amount of receptions. You're looking at 3 or 4 receptions, and what he does with them, 20, 25 yards here. So on DraftKings, at only $1,000, you're already locked into what, 3 or 4 points just on the receptions alone, and you're hoping and praying he puts up 30, 40 yards with those, and if he finds the end zone, it's gravy. So Jalen Richard, very much in play on Saturday here. Now the next guy, if I shared a portion of my notes, in the corner, I write little tabs or little dots, bullet points, and it says Chubb, Chubb, Chubb. I mean, what are we doing here if you're not using Chubb in the MVP spot, the captain spot, in a flex spot? Personally, I'm not saying anything out of school here. I firmly believe Chubb could be close to 90% owned. Who's to say he's not 100% owned? He would be if it wasn't for dummies like me who feel like the need to get contrarian all the time, and I'm going to fade Chubb because. So that aside, I'm not fading Chubb today. That would be unbelievably bad news. Chubb playing Cleveland, Cleveland playing Vegas. Vegas is 29th overall in DVP. They just hemorrhage yards and points to opposing running backs. Chubb, 14.5 on FanDuel, $11,400 on DraftKings, and he is in a captain spot. He's $17,100. He's more than the quarterbacks. He's more than the wide receivers here. Chubb is the play today or Saturday. Don't even fool around with it. What are we doing? As I said, Chubb around 20 carries, well over 100 yards, 3-4 receptions, another 20 or 30 yards. And look, I think Chubb puts it in the end zone twice, 2 on the ground. I don't think that's crazy or unrealistic at all, given the what's going on in Cleveland here. They're down a lot of players, so why wouldn't they feed their best guy in Nick Chubb here? Although I do think Dearness Johnson gets a little bit in on the action here. 8-5 on FanDuel, $5,600 on DraftKings. I'm looking at Dearness at around 6 or 7 carries, 30, maybe 40 yards, and a couple receptions for another 15 or 20 yards here. As we look at the wide receivers here, I'll kind of fast forward through the rest of the video here. I don't want to keep you long, especially on the holiday weekend. Christmas so close. How can you believe it here? Hunter Renfrow, highlighted in bold in my notes. I mean, this is one of the easiest decisions you can make in the single game slate. Hunter Renfrow at Cleveland. Does DVP even matter? Cleveland's 11th overall in defending opposing wide receivers. Renfrow, $13K on FanDuel, 11 grand on DraftKings. If you want him in the captain spot, which, rightfully so, he is $16,500 there. And look, Hunter Renfrow's been on an absolute tear. And so what kind of fool would I be to fade him? What kind of dummy would I be to tell you, no, the hipster play would be to fade Renfrow and fade Nick Chubb? Don't listen to that. I would never tell you that. But if someone does, don't listen to them. There's nothing good that can come out of fading Chubb or Hunter Renfrow on Saturday slate here. Normally, I give you those plays, but right now, it would be negligent of me to tell you to do that stuff. Hunter Renfrow, 9, maybe 10 targets in this one. A floor of 5, 6 receptions. I think he catches 7 or 8 passes in this one. 80, 90 yards, and he will receive a touchdown in this one. The only other Vegas Raiders wide receiver I could see would be Zay Jones, because I have him for 6 targets, 4, maybe 5 receptions in this one, 40, 50 yards. Zay Jones, $6,500 on FanDuel, only $4,600 on DraftKings. Bryan Edwards, I mean, we want him to be a thing. I do too. I know a lot of folks that are all in on Bryan Edwards, and I just don't see it happening, not at this moment in time. And Deshaun Jackson, he's always in play, especially on DraftKings, because he's only $2,800. I have Deshaun right. 3 targets, a couple receptions, 30 yards. But to me, Deshaun Jackson will always be the consummate lotto ticket, right? You get him in your roster. All it takes is one with this guy here. So when we look at the Cleveland wide receivers, there's really nobody. There's Donovan Peoples-Jones and Rashard Higgins. And at the time of this recording, who knows what the heck is happening with the news here. So of the two, I would prefer DPJ, Michigan man, go blue, 9-5 on FanDuel, $7,400 on DraftKings. And when you look at some of these prices here, you can tell, I'd like to think that, I never claim to be the smartest man in any room, but sometimes FanDuel and DraftKings, you can look at the player pricing and you're like, why is this kid so expensive? They know a few things that we don't know. I would imagine they're all in on Vegas too. They're one and the same here. So when you look at DPJ, he is $11,100 on DraftKings in the captain spot. Why is that? Deshaun Jackson, only $4,200. Bryan Edwards, only $7,800. Even Rashard Higgins, $1,200 in the captain spot here. So when you look at at a captain spot price tag like DPJ so high, that's kind of paints a story here, and nobody really mentions that or pays attention to that. In terms of the tight ends, it is unbelievably awful. Darren Waller, probably inactive. Foster Moreau, I have projections for him, but who's to say if he goes or not? Foster Moreau, 5 targets, 3-4 receptions, and that's on the high end for, 30, 35 yards here. David Njoku, I believe he was put on the COVID IR earlier this week, but I think he's back. He's active, hopefully. And Njoku, $6,000 on FanDuel, $2,400 on DraftKings. And look, Njoku playing the Raiders here. The Raiders are 31st overall against opposing tight ends here. So, as you can start to see here, I painted a picture of Nick Mullins, Josh Jacobs, Nick Chubb, Hunter Renfrow, and then boom, you put in Njoku, and it fits perfectly there, because a lot of folks, and hey, I wouldn't blame them, you can fit in both quarterbacks here with Josh Jacobs, with Nick Chubb here. That's just the way the price tag is kind of shaking out here this afternoon. Daniel Carlson, Chase McLaughlin, the kickers, no worries there. The Browns and the Raiders. Of the two, maybe we can take a shot on the Raiders, given the fact that Cleveland is just decimated here. Nick Mullins is their quarterback. He's bound to make a mistake or two, an interception, a fumble, who knows how it's going there. But the Raiders, $5,100 on DraftKings in the captain spot. In a flex spot, the Raiders, $3,400 here. And briefly, before we split, I got some betting trends here, but the video's already running long here, so just make sure you look at my notes. Obviously, I'll post them with this video here. And this game, it's going to be, I hate to say it's going to be fun, given all the real-life implications here of COVID and all this stuff. It's really serious. Again, I wish all these players the best. I wish you the best. Enjoy your holidays. I put the tree up to be a little bit festive here. And before I split, make sure you go to Team Riser Fall, like, share, and subscribe. Use promo code NBA. You can see the Christmas graphics there. The boot, Santa's boot, the presents are wrapped. Use promo code NBA. You'll get 33% off, and we'll move on. So let's hang here, and I'll be right back with my second video for Saturday. I'm flipping the page here. The New England Patriots head to the Indianapolis Colts in what should be an even better game, but who's to know how Saturday will shake out. So until I see you next, it'll be very soon. Enjoy your Saturday, and we'll talk again very soon. See ya.